So I know a lot of people use Reddit for a bunch of different reasons, whether it's promotion for other social media or paid pages, or just for having fun. And an option in Reddit, if you are a moderator of a subreddit, is to create a specific user flair for certain users who are members of the subreddit you moderate. So, Wall Street Bets is a good example of a subreddit that uses this feature because they have a ton of users who have user flair assigned to them. So let's see, looking for an example. So this right here, this smoked salmon, is an example of user flair, and it can be you can include emojis and text. It's only allowed to be a certain length in terms of pixels or characters, I suppose. But you can make, if you can see right here, let me see if I can zoom into that. Okay, so you can kind of see right here, there's an opportunity to include custom emojis, and you can actually make these user flair. And I'm sorry that these are kind of ridiculous. I might have picked a silly subreddit to look at because they are a little bit crass. But you can create really cool, very customized user flares, and they don't serve much of a purpose except for people tend to get really excited when they have a fun flare, or really any flare at all, because it makes you stand out in the community, and just I don't know, it kind of just makes you feel a little bit special, and it's just something fun that kind of encourages people to post more. So it's very easy to just create text and basic keyboard, like the built-in emojis that you have on your cell phone keyboard, or any computer. But if you want to have custom graphics like this little Care Bear, or something even cooler than that, then there's a little bit of a process. So the first thing that you have to do is go into the mod tools and enable custom emojis. So here are all the tools here. Scroll down to the very bottom pretty much. You see this emojis, click that. And you've got like the built-in Reddit emojis that you can use for pretty much anything in your subreddit. People can click the little kind of smiley face button underneath a comment and use any of these. They are sometimes animated. Anyways, so click on emoji settings. This is the default, having emojis turned off. You want to enable that. And so make sure that this is toggled on. That's the first step. Now, the second step is to create your own flare and then turn the flare that you create into emojis. So the first thing you can do is you can take any sort of PNG, whatever you want from the internet, from Photoshop, and have the correct aspect ratio, which is 128 by 128 pixels. You can use that to just have your own custom emojis that you can use in user flair and also in comments and whatever else, anything you want. Click the add emoji, and then you just upload it. 128 128 max file size, you get it. So upload that and you can use it, and that's your basic, whatever. Add that to the end of a text user flair and have a custom emoji, or have it in a comment. If you want it to be transparent, just make sure that you remove any sort of white background from a picture that you download in Photoshop or any other, there's apps on the web that you can use to just remove the background, or even just apps on your phone. So if you want to make sure that it's transparent, especially if your subreddit has a particular color scheme or whatever other customizations, make sure you remove that background so that way it looks pretty against the background and you don't have just like a big white box around the picture. So that's the first thing you can do. So the other point I want to make is that the maximum number of emojis that you can have for a user flare is 10. So that means that the maximum width of your user flare can be 1280 pixels. So, and then the height is 128. Anything else, you want to kind of plan out before the length of what the user flare will be. So in this little tutorial, the example that I'm going to make for you guys is going to be 6 emojis long. So that'll be a 768 pixel width by 128 pixel height. Once we create the flare, and I'll show you how I do that, we just chop that up into 6 equal pieces and then upload them as emojis. So I'll go through that with you now. I've got open a canvas that is 768 pixels wide, 128 tall, and I'm using Photoshop, but you can use paint.net, and that's a free kind of version of Photoshop that you can use to make custom little pictures that you can break up. So what I'm going to do is, since my username is Diet Marshmallow, I'm just going to do a simple text flare, but we're going to make it really cute and really fun. First thing I'm just doing is unlocking the background so I can delete it basically later, because like I said before, I want it to be transparent when I have it uploaded, so that way, you know, if I can't remember what the background color of this subreddit is, but if it's anything other than white, it'll look pretty and it won't have a white box around it. And also, I don't know if anyone's ever noticed this, but there's a lot of differences between mobile app Reddit and web Reddit. So we want it to look pretty on both. So, okay, so I'm just going to do a simple text one. I have a lot of fonts downloaded for making a bunch of different graphics, and I just kind of like Google font website. But there's also a website called dafont, DAFONT.com, and you can just download a ton of fonts for free that are really, really fun. This one right here is one of my favorites. You download it it comes with 3 different basically layers to it, which I think is really fun. You'll see how it works. It makes it so there's like a little shadow and a highlight. Anyways, we're gonna just make this basic marshmallow, and I'm gonna make it as big as I can to fit in this area. Let's see if I can push it a little more. Probably like 40. Good, that's great. So now that I've got this font in the box, I want to change the color. I'm just going to make it some sort of girly something or other. Let's see, let me highlight it so I can actually change the color. I think this is a cute main font color. I like for this font having it be a little bit darker so you can kind of see the highlight. You'll see what I mean. So what I like to do is just pretty much go over here and duplicate the layer, because then it'll just be perfectly on top of itself, and so that way it's already aligned. So then I'll go into the second, the copy layer, change the font to the background version, and then I'll have to drag it down here so it's behind it. And then let's see what's a cool color for the background, something that's like dark enough so you can see the main color font. And then I'm going to do that again, go in and duplicate the layer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to, so this weird looking inline thing is the highlight. And so then we're going to go in here and choose a cool highlight. So we could do, I don't know, like a super light blue or something. It doesn't have to be anything crazy for this example. I'm just, we'll make it white. Okay. So that looks fun. I'm actually going to, now that we have the shadow in, they're kind of like off-centered. So I'm going to select all of them and kind of move it over so that way it's right in the middle. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go back to the first layer, the original background layer, and I'm just going to delete it, which makes it totally transparent. Then I'm just going to go ahead and export this as a PNG. So we'll do export as, and we'll do as PNG, and we'll keep the transparency selected so that way it has no background when we upload it. And just save it, and then I'll show you the next step. Split the image we just created into its individual emoji parts. So 128 pixel wide emojis. So we planned it out so that way we would have 6 emojis. And like I said, if you need something smaller, then you can make your canvas smaller. If you need something longer, like you have a longer word or you want a bunch of pictures, and you can even just take, I did text for simplicity, but you can take a banner, like an actual, like a banner photo, or you can make a banner, you can make a picture collage, you can do whatever you want as long as it's within those dimensions of 128 by 128 times x up to 10. So you can do whatever you want. So, but you need to split it. And the way to do that, the simplest way to do that is to use an online image splitting website tool. There are probably other ones. This is the one that we found for, like, most easily today, but there are a bunch of other online image splitter tools. So what you do is you just upload your image. You've got your image here. We want 6 blocks. We want to split that horizontally. And I know that seems counterintuitive. Like, it seems like, oh, that would make like rows instead of columns. That's not how this works for some reason. We want just equal width 6 since we decided that, and then you just hit split image. Okay, so now it's split everything for you, and you just download them one at a time or download the zip file, whatever you want to do. Just get all of the images saved to your desktop or whatever folder, wherever you want to save them. You go back to Reddit, and we're going to upload the emojis. And one thing I didn't mention before, but I want to mention now, is when you download the split images, they'll probably have some sort of name based off of the original file name. What I recommend doing is going in and naming the images 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or whatever. Actually, don't even use 10, use 0 to represent the number 10, because since there is a 10 character limit on Reddit user flares, it actually, for whatever reason, the website takes into account the file name and says that each one of the letters in the file name is a character for the purpose of these emojis. So you don't want to name these anything beyond 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, just because it won't let you, when you get to the create the flare stage, it won't let you. Just a weird thing about the website. Okay, so we're going to add the emojis. Another thing I've noticed is that it gives you the option to upload images or drag them. Like, you can manually upload them. For whatever reason, dragging them seems to work way better. So yeah, just keep it, even though it says 23 characters remaining, leave it as 1. Okay, so we've got our first one uploaded. So we'll add another emoji, and it will be 2. And we'll just do that until we get all of them uploaded. Okay, so now you can see we've got marshmallow in 6 different emojis, and now we can take those and we can use them to make a custom user flare. How to do that is go over to the moderation bar on the side again and click on user flare. And we don't have any yet, so we're going to start. So we're going to add a user flare. So that's the first step. So go in, click the little smiley face. We've got M, we've got AR. Just basically put in all of the emojis we just made right next to each other. There won't be any gaps because of all the steps we just took. And because if you remember what you named things, you can just type that into the search. So if you end up doing this quite frequently, I'm trying to say, you can write down what you've named each individual thing. I think I might have misspoken before about there only being 10 characters. It might be 20 or something like that, because I think you can do like T1, T2, but just keep it as limited as possible, because there is a character limit for these. And so if you go over it, it won't let you use your whole thing, which you just went all through all that work, and it's fixable. You just have to re-upload the image, and then when Reddit gives you the opportunity to name the flare, because you can never change the name of the emoji after it's been initially uploaded. So it gives you the opportunity to name the emoji. Just pick something 1 to 2 characters, and then if you have a ton of them, which if this becomes like a practice for you to flare a lot of people in your community, you'll have a bunch of custom emojis. Just remember what you named them, and you can search for them, and they'll just show up really easily like that. So you won't have to worry about like scrolling through pages and pages of emojis. So we've got that. We don't want a flare background, and we can just save this. So here's the marshmallow flare, and then what we'll do is actually assign the flare to a user. So we go into this assign tab in the same user flare setup, and we'll just give it to myself. Type in the user's name. We've got my username here. I don't have any flare. And then, but we can go to this like drop down menu that's just like a flare template and assign marshmallow. And now that is my user flare. And I will go into the subreddit and write a comment now and let you know what it looks like, because I think it looks really fun. Okay, so now you can see that when I make a comment, and it also show up next to my username when I make a post, you can see that underneath my username, it's got this really cool user flare that probably like looks way more unique than most flares you see on Reddit, and I think that's just because most of the mods don't know how to do this. It's not like anything that's in any Reddit built-in tutorial, so it's not something that a lot of people are able to play with, but I think it's really fun, and I think it's like a unique thing, and it's fun for users, and people really love getting their flare. And like I said, you could add pictures to this. You can make the whole thing a picture and split it up. But that's really it. It's pretty simple, especially if you just want to do fun text, just download a cool font, anything like that. Like I said in the before, just make sure you remove the background so there's no wonkiness between mobile and the website and colored backgrounds, anything like that. But that's it. So if you have any questions about anything that I just showed you, feel free to leave a comment and I can go into more detail, help you with whatever you're struggling with. I know this can be like a little bit of a learning curve when you're starting with it. There are a lot of mistakes I've made when I learned how to do this, especially just make sure that you get the pixel width of the canvas exactly right, because if you don't, like for example, if this was off even by 10 or 20 pixels and I split it into 6 parts, what you would see is instead of it looking cohesive, there would be little white gaps in between each of these, because it wouldn't be the correct size, so there would be white parts to account for the extra white space, if that makes sense. So just make sure that the canvas size in Photoshop or whatever program you're using is exactly divisible by 128. So that's really it, and let me know if you have any questions and I'll be happy to help.